days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. It's Packers week. It's Sunday Night Football. And the 49ers are starting preparations for Green Bay. But they have to address the running back room. And they've done that a little bit. They've started to make some moves. And I say a little bit, but it's really a lot of it because it's a large gentleman.
That's true. There's a big body. It's a big body fella. But we'll get there, Cutback crew. We'll get there. Make sure you hit that like button already. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Join the channel and the Cutback crew, like BB50 down there just did. He's one of the newest members of the. I think we're up there. We're getting some membership numbers. I really like it.
Yeah. These
people are going to be able to hang out with us in the member-only live streams once a month. You know, when special videos come out, they get first early access to it because they get to see it before anyone else does. There's a lot of good things and more perks coming too down the road. You don't want to miss out on any of that. So make sure you become a channel member if you want to. Extra additional content for you as well. You can hop over to Patreon as well. But Ant, let's talk about this. They make the move. They sign Jacques Patrick off the Bengals practice squad. He's a Florida State guy, so you know Ant's got all the deets and all the down low on this gentleman. How are you feeling about this? This is a big guy, 6'3", right?
Yeah, he's about 6'2", 6'3", depending on what convenience store he's walking out of. And he's 228 pounds right now, but he's went anywhere from 235 to 240. This guy is a complete bruising back. You think Brandon Jacobs style as far as size and speed. This guy is big, and he's able to run interior. That is really what he's good at. He's good at moving people off their spots on contact. He's very physical. This is a little bit of an outlier for me as far as what Kyle Shanahan is doing here. But we talked about this when we were talking about our running backs before, is who they sign is going to give us an idea of what the game plan is going forward. So they obviously see this. Now, this might not be so much for Green Bay. It could also be for Seattle, because Seattle just got done playing against Derrick Henry. Maybe they saw something where they need a big body back against that team. I also brought up the point where it might be time for quarterback power. And what a better way to have quarterback power than to have a 6'3", 228 pound running back leading the way. So there are some options and opportunities for this guy to be successful in the 49ers system. Not to mention he comes from Cincinnati, so he's running the same zone scheme or a very similar zone scheme to what Kyle Shanahan does. He fits it pretty well. And watching him play at Florida State, he was able to run the outside zone. He has enough speed. He's a 4'6" guy, so he's definitely able to run the outside zone. But I think where he's going to be benefiting the most, benefiting the team the most, is in between the tackles, in goal line and short yardage situations where he can pound it forward and get those yards. Because if Elijah Mitchell is, nicked up the way he is with his shoulder, and Trey Sermon might not play, you're going to need someone to convert on these, inside run plays. You can get touchdowns around the goal line. This guy could get it done for you. So that it makes a lot of sense to me in those areas.
It does. It does make a lot of sense there in those areas, especially if you're worried about Trey Sermon's ability to come back sooner rather than later. You kind of insulate yourself there with the big body back. And who knows? There's still moves to potentially to be made. You don't know if there's other names out there. You don't know necessarily how they're feeling about some of those workouts with the running backs that they brought in, earlier this week. So there's still potential moves to be made. Kerryon Johnson's still down there on the practice squad that they could activate and bring up at any point in time as well. I like it. They're making the move. They feel there's something there. What exactly it is, we'll probably know as the week progresses. We'll get a better idea of where it's going to be at. I'm actually looking forward to diving into a little bit more film of this guy, especially the XFL stuff that he did, but a little bit of college as well, and getting a better feel for his game and how he fits in, because you've definitely got a little bit more exposure with this gentleman, seeing as you're a Florida State guy, and you got to watch him for 4 years there at Florida State. So I like where it's at so far. And again, I trust Kyle Shanahan and in the rest of this scouting department and coaching staff when it comes to running backs. If you feel there's something there, you feel there's something this guy can add to your roster right now in the short term, then you're going to make the move, insulate yourself, make sure that you buy yourself that time, and also, give yourself that little bit of a breathing room. But yeah, this is definitely an issue. Seattle especially struggles. They struggle with this interior kind of run game, and when people are able to body them up and kind of man them up in space. And we talk about that a little bit later today as well with Evan from the He's on Fire podcast during Quest for the West. You don't want to miss that. It's a lot of fun. That's a good fun episode today that's going to debut. But no, this is good. This is the things that you need to do. You're trying to make sure that you continue to build out this roster and add pieces so that you can attack teams the way you need to attack them. So that Kyle Shanahan has toys and arsenal, right, of things in the toy chest so that he can come at you in a variety of ways and not just be limited in his attack options. They released cornerback Dee Virgin as well from the practice squad. So Dee Virgin, bye-bye, see you later. But they also brought in a bunch of dudes, right?
Yeah, they did. And right before I get into that, I want to make one more point about Patrick. He's a good receiver of the football.
Okay.
So he can actually catch the ball. So don't let his size fool you. He can actually get out there and make plays. He's a very good runner after the catch as well in screen game. So he is a little bit of an enigma for someone his size, but he hasn't been able to make an NFL roster. So he's got to prove it. He did have some good runs in the XFL. So if you want to go see some cool highlights, go watch his XFL highlights. He moves the pile. That's what he does. But yeah, right. They did bring in a bunch of guys. So they're definitely working out guys. And we were trying to figure out exactly who some of these people were. We looked them up, and then also why they are working them out, because they've decided to go heavy wide receiver.
Heavy.
They went Cody Core, Chris Lacey, Sean Poindexter, and Damian Willis that are all receivers, and then Tahir Whitehead, who's a linebacker. But let's go to the receivers first.
Is there a similar characteristic with all these guys, Ed? Because when we were looking this up, I noticed we were noticing some similarities.
Yeah, if you just look at their stats, you're going to be like, what? They haven't played very much. There's not very many very much stats. We're all familiar with Poindexter, and he's 6'5". But after that, yeah, there was similarities. Cody Core, 6'3", 205. Runs a 4.5 40. Chris Lacey, 6'3", 206, runs a 4.5 40. Damian Willis, 6'3", 205, and runs a 4.5 40.
Whoa.
Or pretty close. They're all right around that area. I think we have a theme here. The 49ers are looking for another big-bodied receiver. The question is, why?
Are they unhappy with someone on the roster, and are they looking to add a weapon? Or maybe they're looking to emulate something for an opponent next week that's coming in. Also doesn't hurt to bring him in this week with Devontae Adams' big old self out there doing things. But maybe they're trying to find someone to emulate DK Metcalf in practice.
Could be. I mean, you always do want to have one of those guys. That was one of the things that was nice about having Kevin White last year.
Absolutely.
You had someone that could emulate the things, the big body nature. Now, nobody's going to be as big, as physical, as fast as DK is. But, yeah, it could be that. The Niners have definitely shifted their focus this year away from small, shifty, quick wide receivers to big body guys that can block, even on their normal roster. You look at the roster, and everyone is big and physical. I mean, most of them are over 6 foot. I think Brandon Ayuk is kind of the outlier as far as physicality-wise. Everyone else can go get it done physically. So them having these type of guys doesn't really, it's kind of weird because I don't think they're really trying to do have it so anyone on the main roster. That doesn't make sense. None of these guys are going to be able to make that main roster. You still have Jalen Hurd on the IR. You still have Travis Benjamin on the practice squad. None of these guys are going to be able to beat any of them out. So it has to be that sort of an angle, right? Where they're preparing to prepare for someone else, or these guys are a special teams type of player. I think those are the only ways that we're looking at it. But more than likely, like you said, it's a signing to prepare them for Seattle or Arizona or both. And maybe they're looking to, get ahead of the game and be prepared for those guys when time comes.
I think it's the only thing that makes any sort of logical sense. I really tried to wrap my head around, is this some 49ers fans, and I know this was maybe my initial knee-jerk reaction was big body guy, 4'5" guy, maybe this is a Jalen Hurd. There's something wrong. Jalen Hurd panic button, right? There's something wrong with Jalen. No, you have Jawan Jennings, right? You already have that piece that you can kind of fill that role with and do those types of things with. Travis Benjamin is definitely a better receiving option than any of the names you just listed, right? None of them. And Sean Poindexter was a guy who last year, if you remember my That's bold prediction for the 53-man roster, was a guy who would make the 53-man roster and show out. That ended up not being the case, and Sean Poindexter is now just, nowhere to be found in the NFL at the moment currently.
And you're about to be featured on Big Yikes.
About to be featured on Big Yikes. We have to go back and pull that one, right? That take's got to go definitely on to Big Yikes. Make sure you stay tuned for Big Yikes. I'm going to be all over the next episode. But look, it's the only thing that makes sense. Yeah. They're bringing these guys in because they're going to, whatever guy they feel produces or does the things on film in this workout session that they can emulate with DK Metcalf and what DK has done with Seattle, they need that. You don't want Jawan Jennings to have to try and emulate it. You want to keep him healthy, fresh, have him focus on the game plan and not emulating other people. You want to try and find a guy who can do those things, can really test your corners. They don't have to play perfect. But they got to give at least a good enough look. Especially with this cornerback room. With this cornerback room having questions, being young, untested, or people feeling certain guys are washed, right? You need to find a way to get the most out of them. The best way to do that, find a guy, just one dude who has the similar measures, right? The measurables, the speed. Doesn't have to necessarily have the same level of physicality, but can almost there, check most of those boxes for DK. Can he go out there and do those things and give us the best possible look? So that way, all week long, no matter what we do, no matter if it's one-on-one drills, no matter if it's team situations, whatever it is, these guys are getting as close as possible to getting what they're going to get in the actual game. Because the closer it is to being emulated in practice, the more prepared they're going to be come game time for tendencies, things of that nature, and how the routes look, how it feels, and the spacing. If I'm sitting here on this guy's hip and he's going to run an inside breaking route and he gives me an outside move and gets a little physical with me and he creates that separation, how much separation can I allow? How much room can I give this guy before it turns into last year, right? Think about last year, that over the middle that DK had where he comes across the field and then takes it into the house. Getting those things.
Why'd you make me think about that?
I'm sorry. It's just it was necessary for the point.
I blocked it out.
It was necessary for the point I was trying to make, and the point I'm trying to make is right that you have to get those things done somehow, some way. If you wait till close to game time or the actual game to try and figure out that comfortability level for your corners, you're playing from behind the eight ball. It's not a fun position to be in. So you got to get it done in practice. The earlier, the better. Making this move now and giving you a whole week and a half, 2 weeks to get everyone comfortable with the things that they do gives them, even though necessarily in their mind, right, you're not necessarily, this guy is doing that. This is what DK does. You're giving them that exposure, getting them those guys comfortable covering these guys in space, which is going to help going forward when it gets time to start implementing a game plan.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the only other angle I can think of is that they just enjoy how much these big body receivers block in practice.
Maybe
that they are worried in case somebody gets nicked up in the game that they need somebody that already understands the offense. So by bringing one of these guys in, you can see which one of these guys are the most physical at the point of attack, blocking,
like that,
and they can still get it done. So that way, you see it right now. They'll pull Brandon Ayuk off, and they'll put in Juwan Jennings on 3rd and short, so that way he can go in there and block, and he's a great blocker. So they're probably thinking to themselves, wait, if something happens to Juwan, we need a guy that we can put in the next week. We need somebody that understands the offense, not somebody just coming off the street. So maybe that is an angle that they're looking for. We don't know yet, but I think that it could be a dual thing as well, where they're looking to emulate DK, because they right now, besides the guys they have on their roster, they don't have anyone that really has that kind of ability. So it's an interesting proposition. It was interesting names to hear. It's kind of cool seeing Sean Poindexter getting a chance again. He's a big body guy, and he had some potential, but he always got hurt, and he never was able to pan out. So I'm curious if they end up signing any of these guys, or if this is just a hey, let's check these guys out, see where they're at, see where their medical is in case something happens. Only time will tell, but look for roster moves to be coming here pretty soon because practice starts today, and you got to get out. Once they're out there on the field, there's going to be somebody there, so they could already assign someone. We'll be hearing an official word at any time, I'm sure. Anytime
that's going to be the case. It's going to be interesting to see what the Niners do, what moves they still are going to make, and what moves are still to come. But look, there's more than just signings and more than just guys being moved around. You know what, though? Let's also talk about Tahir Whitehead. I almost forgot That's Whitehead. The outside linebacker, right? This is a guy that is an outside linebacker. He's been in the league now for some time. He's been in the league essentially since 2012. He spent his first 5 years with Detroit. Then he spent the 2018-2019 season with Oakland, the 2020 campaign with the Carolina Panthers. And he's always playing. He's always in games, not a lot of stats, which leads me and you both to believe that this is a special teams guy, and they're maybe insulating themselves by bringing this guy in for a workout, getting the run of the mill right. They had Nathan Jerry they brought in for a little bit as well. They've been kind of making the rounds with outside linebackers specifically, maybe just trying to get a look-see in case there's some more injuries, and they have to activate this guy. Number one, this guy can do it on special teams. He has enough film out there of him operating as a special teams guy. But number two, can he come in and execute and run the system if you get into an emergency situation?
Yeah, there's preparation in case Dre Greenlaw is out a significant amount of time. You want to make sure that you're insulated. And the first thing they did was, they already had Nathan Jerry, but they have to make sure that Nathan Jerry is able to go. They did not bring Nathan Jerry up for this game. Nathan Jerry wasn't active. So they didn't play Flanagan Foles. They played Marcel Harris. So maybe there are some questions about that other linebacker spot. So you look at this guy, You see what he could add to your roster, but ultimately you know he could help you in special teams. And we've seen them start making strategic moves as far as special teams. Trenton Cannon was a huge special teams get for them. The way he was flying around and playing gunner on punt, the way he was flying around, with the kickoff as well, you could tell that this guy is out there and he's a big-time ace. I watched it back, and him and Trent Sherfield they look fantastic in the punt game. So maybe the 49ers now are looking at extra edge. We're already grading out to be one of the best special teams groups in the NFL, coming in second so far. So they're just looking at another edge. And when you play complementary football, all aspects playing together, this was so prominent during the Jim Harbaugh days, that is where they made their money. That's where they made their living. And a lot of times special teams would change the game and help the 49ers win. And I think they're looking for any edge they can get. And in the NFC West, you definitely have to do that. So making strategic moves and making sure you have guys in your Rolodex that if something happens, you can call on them and get them in is definitely something that you have to make sure you do. And I think this front office and John Lynch are doing that.
Yeah, and ironically enough, this was a guy in college at Temple. Guess what he started playing at?
I bet he was safety.
It was a safety DB role first, and then he made the switch at the end of his college career, his junior and senior year. He moved into linebacker. This is a guy who started on the outside as a right secondary guy, moved into the interior as a 4.6 guy. So definitely makes sense, fits the mold of what they're looking for as their linebackers.
6'2", 241 pounds.
And fairly not the speediest guy in the world, but not by any means a slow man.
Not for a linebacker. No, he's moving pretty good.
He's moving really good.
Yeah.
So makes sense. We'll see if there's anything more to that, or if this is just a thing where they're getting a look and just doing their due diligence, right? They're bringing all these other wide receivers in for workouts. Let's make sure that we exacerbate all of our options as well at the linebacking position and make sure that we have everything there. But that's not the only big thing that's coming out of everything that's happened in week 2. Trey Lance didn't get a snap. Didn't see the field. We've been avid, staunch supporters of the Shanaplan and them utilizing both guys. We have stated, though, on numerous occasions that week to week, game to game, situation to situation, right, opponent to opponent, scheme to scheme, it can change. It can vary. I brazenly went so far as to say I didn't think we'd see a whole lot of Trey Lance early in the year, and then backed away from that as we got further and further the season, because it really looked like Kyle was pushing the Shanaplan hard. And I thought, man, maybe we'll see more of Trey than we thought. My initial gut was right, Ant. I shouldn't have backed off of it. I'll never learn my lesson. I really don't. I'm a slave to the moment. I really am. Well,
I would be careful being a slave to it right now, because there's no guarantee he won't come out and play a lot against Green Bay.
Very true.
You honestly don't know what Kyle Shanahan's going to do. Kyle Shanahan goes with what he feels. I mean, it's kind of like, just go with what you feel. He does what he thinks is best for his team to win. Sure. And in this Philadelphia Eagles game, he didn't feel that it was a good time to put Trey Lance in. I do have some thoughts on possibly why that is. I think one of those is with Jimmy struggling early. I think him going to Trey could have completely caused a rift on his football team.
100%.
If Trey comes in and Trey plays well and Jimmy's not allowed to work through it, then there are the questions about Jimmy Garoppolo. Hey, but because Jimmy worked through it, Jimmy played well in the middle of that game and really got that win. Now you will feel secure with Jimmy Garoppolo, and now you can go back to sprinkling in Trey Lance when you need to. So he admitted, there was a couple times I thought about it, and then I just carried on living my life and went to what he wanted to go to. He didn't say carried on living his life. That's for me, but
he might as well have said
he just said,
on.
And then I thought about. I just went in a different direction. So
basically the same thing.
He did, and I think the exact quote too. One of the things he said was, "I didn't have the urge."
Yes.
So he didn't have the urge to put in Trey Lance. Whether that was to protect Trey Lance, whether that was to help Jimmy Garoppolo work through it, because sometimes a quarterback just needs to work through these things, and when they do, then it works out from there. Going against a tough defense like that, also you protect Trey in case there's, that was just hard against that defense line. The defensive line is really good, and it shows up on the film big time. So I don't think this is a huge thing. I think we'll still see Trey Lance from time to time during games. What amount, I don't know. But other teams are going to have to figure that out too. You might prepare the whole week for Trey Lance and he might not play. And if you take that off chance that you don't prepare at all and he does play, well, that's on you.
That's a lot of problems for you there potentially. And look, Shanahan said as much. Everything that you just said is accurate. He said, I never have a plan for that. This was yesterday. Hey, I'm going to use him, or hey, I'm not going to use him. He doesn't plan for that at all. It's always an option throughout the game. It's been 2 games and I've never had him in the openers. I've never had him as a designated time slot or things of that nature. Plan on doing that week to week. Whatever I feel like putting him in, I'll put him in. You saw I did that in week 1. I never got that urge like you talked about in week 2. The Shanaplan is definitely Kyle Shanahan's plan, his plan for usage, and his plan for usage isn't I'm going to go into a game with a number of packages or a set number of opportunities. It's looks, it's situations, right?
Yeah.
It's personnel groupings. It's what is an opponent trying to take away? What is it that they're trying to do? And if they're going to do those things, okay, great. This is the moment. This is the time to do that. If they're not going to do those things, it is what it is.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see more Trey Lance against the Eagles. I just thought there was going to be opportunities because Josh Sweat was playing defensive end. Maybe they could run some read option and stuff. That wasn't the case.
Nope.
It's okay to be wrong. It is.
I'll take being wrong if we get a dub.
Yeah, 100%. And
all day.
And the thing is you can't be right about everything because you don't know what these guys are doing in their meetings.
Accurate.
You're just trying to read the tea leaves and go off of it. There's plenty of other stuff where we're, pretty close to on target. So I will live with being wrong about Trey Lance playing. And I don't know for sure if he's going to play against Green Bay. I think there are opportunities. I've already went on record as saying I think they could introduce quarterback power this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be something that they could run. If they do, great. If they don't, you know what? That's what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. And ultimately, that's just my opinion. So, I think that it's interesting the way he's handling these two quarterbacks and handling the system. But he definitely did a good job of making sure he established that Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy that they can count on, and that right now Trey is quarterback 2, but when his number is called upon, he expects him to play at a high level, but it's not going to be called upon unless he has the urge to make it happen.
Definitely going to come down to that urge, and when that urge hits and when the mood strikes, right, when Kyle Shanahan will swoop in and unleash the Shanaplan upon the NFL and whoever that ends up being, whether it's an NFC opponent, whether it's an NFC West opponent, who knows? Time will tell. Quest for the West will get really interesting if that happens, and that is for sure. You bet your bottom dollar on that. And look, Jimmy has made as many comments this week about it as well, and just talking about the situation. And Jay Hill brought up on Face Off. He had talked about a little bit about how maybe the whole quarterback room isn't bought in, and a couple of the other people have also commented that in the chats. They've been kind of digging at that a little bit as well. That there's no proof that this team is bought in, and maybe that's why Kyle hasn't been making moves and making this decision. And that's just not the case, because Garoppolo has said as much in pressers that no matter what happens, right, if Shanahan decides to make a call, for example, the Lions game was a perfect example, right, where the team's driving down the field, I've operated as a QB, whatever, the drive is what it is, and at the very end of the drive, coach makes the call to put him in, and they go out and execute. That's the call. Coach made the decision. It is what it is, and I respect Kyle's decision. And if it puts points on the board, then it puts points on the board. And there's really nothing to complain about. All of these guys want a Super Bowl. They want that. Jimmy has not jokingly, but said at the end of the season he's definitely going to have some things that he needs to consider, right? And talked about maybe talking to Rodgers a little bit about what's going on there, because Rodgers is in a different situation in that Jordan Love is definitely not someone who's going to be going into games unless things are completely out of hand, right? Like week 1 for Green Bay, but he's got his replacement sitting there in the wings waiting to take over there in Green Bay, and maybe he gets some insight into him. You and I both feel like at the end of this season is Jimmy's farewell, right? Jimmy's most likely going, regardless of what happens, Jimmy is probably gone because you're going to free up the cap space. You're going to roll with the young man that you have and try and get some of that draft capital back that you gave up in order to get Trey Lance. Is there any chance that that's just maybe not the case? If Jimmy balls out, he goes out and seeks advice and they say, hey, if you want that job, it's your job, and you've earned it, fight for it and stick around, fight for it. Do you see any world or scenario where Jimmy sticks around and is the guy going into 2022? Not just sticks around, but is the guy in 2022?
Well, first off, I'm going to comment on what you're talking about the people being bought in. The proof is in the pudding. If it's successful and you're winning, then you buy in. That's 100%. They have complete faith in Kyle Shanahan. If they weren't bought into Kyle Shanahan, then they wouldn't buy into the 2-quarterback system. It's obvious they have. And as long as the team is behind it, then that's all that matters. The 2 quarterbacks can be unhappy. They can be dissatisfied with the situation, per Joe Montana and Steve Young. Those type of environments still can yield you the chance to win Super Bowls. So I don't care how their feelings are. I just care how they play on the field. That's number one.
So feelings don't dictate decision making.
It's definitely not about feelings. Feel. No,
it's not about the feelings.
It's not about feelings. As far as Jimmy Garoppolo and his play, there's no set thing in stone. I think they have the idea that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be gone in the offense. I think that is what their initial plan is. But I think at the same time, they're telling Trey Lance, like, you need to do A and B so that way you can be quarterback next year. they are not going to let this guy have anything. They're not telling him. They were talking about complacency with Brandon Ayuk. They're not telling this guy for 1 second that he's going to be the starting quarterback next year. You have to earn the starting quarterback spot next year. And as of right now, they have Jimmy Garoppolo under contract. And as long as they have Jimmy Garoppolo under contract, they have that in their, their tool belt, in their cards, that they can use that. So Trey Lance has to develop. Trey Lance will develop. Now, if Trey Lance develops to the level that we expect him to, then there will be no need for Jimmy Garoppolo next year. Now, they will have to address the quarterback situation as a backup. We don't want to go into a situation where Trey Lance gets hurt next year and we have another issue where we don't have a very talented quarterback. So if they work out something to where they can have these two quarterbacks next year, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities, but I think the initial plan, the overall plan, is to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, bring in a veteran backup that could, get you through football games if Trey Lance got hurt. But that is still, a long ways away, and a lot of things can change. And you're right, it makes it a lot tougher with the continued success of Jimmy Garoppolo. And if for some reason they win a Super Bowl, it heightens that even further. I think it makes it easier to trade him because he has more draft capital, than ever.
Oh yeah.
But you don't trade him if Trey's not ready. So Trey has to be ready, and that's his responsibility.
I'm glad that you said that. I really am, because that's more and more where I'm kind of going with this now. It's very obvious that the 49ers are in a position where the coaching staff is basically to all of the players, top to bottom, prove it. You got to prove it day in, day out, because if you don't, we can go find somebody in the 5th round that can take over and get it done. We can coach somebody up and get it out of them. You have to show us. You have to show us that you're capable of executing at the level we believe you can do. And if you do that, then great. It's your job, and you're right. We're going to take care of you. You're going to have everything that you need to have success in this organization and with this team. But if you don't, you can be replaced. We can find a way to get this done without you. Get on board or get off board, right? It seems to be the message that they're sending with Brandon Ayuk. Not the message they're sending with Trey Lance, because there's nothing really to send yet. We haven't seen anything out of Trey Lance.
Yeah.
But they're definitely going to set that precedent. If they're setting that precedent with Ayuk, that precedent is also going to get set with Trey Lance. If Trey wants to get on the field, there's probably going to be things he's going to have to show and do in practice, in the film room, during their meetings, during discussions, that makes them go, okay, he's ready for a little bit more. Hey, he's ready for this. Hey, he's ready for that. And that opens up his opportunities to get on the field, right? Those situations where Kyle gets the urge to put Trey in. But if Jimmy keeps playing at the level he's playing right now, those urges may be few and far between. They really could, because if Jimmy keeps operating the way he is, he takes the shots downfield, he's not making, too many mistakes, it's going to be hard for Trey to get on the field.
Yeah, and Shanahan went on the radio and he was talking about the fact that, they were asking him basically about working in Trey Lance. Okay. If he needed to work him in to get experience for next year, if he needed to work him in so he could get better. And he said he doesn't think about that. He said because if he did, he goes, it would be basically, bad for all the other guys that are on the field right now. Like, you're not taking into account right now this situation this year with these players. We've talked about this before, is that you're not going to have Trent Williams at this part. Again, he's going to be a year older next year. You're not going to have Kyle Juszczyk at this part of his prime, or George Kittle. All these guys would have a year wasted if you had Trey Lance not playing at an optimum level. So right now he's weighing when those opportunities are. If he feels like Trey Lance gives him an opportunity to make a play because of his unique skill set, he's going to use it. He said as much. And he will put him in there and he will use him and it will work. But he's only going to do it when he thinks it benefits the team the best. And I think and this is another reason why the team is going to be completely bought in, because every single player on that team can respect a coach that will look you straight in the eye and tell you, when your number's called because you give us the best opportunity to be successful, I'm going to call on it. Be ready. They can respect that. When you're putting guys out there that don't deserve it, that's when you start having problems. But if you put guys out there that have earned that opportunity and earned that spot, you're going to be completely fine. So Trey knows what the deal is. Jimmy knows what the deal is. And I don't think of course Trey wants to play football. Of course he wants to be out there.
Yes.
But he understands as well, this is what coach wants from me. These are the areas that I need to improve because I guarantee they're working on him. And when his number's called, he's going to try to make plays. And everybody's just got to kind of wait for it to happen. Everything's fine. But yes, I was surprised he didn't play against the Eagles. Now I won't be surprised, though, because I think Kyle's just going to go with what works out for him, what the situations dictate into a game, because 1,000 different things can happen on first down, second down, third down, or in different situations. There's no real way to know what you're going to do. You can try to, the best plans, the best picnics are often ruined by rain. You can plan it out as much as you want, but you just don't know what's going to happen in the game.
As a coach, Your game plan can get thrown away in a heartbeat. It can also be perfectly intact and constructed all the way through a game and then thrown away late based on adjustments and what happens.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite games as a coach and our best played games when I coached were games in which the game plan got scrapped within 2 minutes of the game. Come out running certain things, trying to execute certain looks. You want to do certain things, and it just you get 2 minutes in, and it's like, what? This sucks. This isn't gonna work. And hey, you were on the field for one of those, in the booth talking to me for one of those games early on as a coach, playing Edison at Edison, where we want to go outside. I want to spread them out because outside of their front guys, I didn't think they had a lot. I thought if we get on the edge, game over. One problem. Their guys playing the edge were really freaking good. Yeah. It was dang near impossible. And after a couple of minutes and a couple of drives of just not getting anything going, he looked at me and he said, "Hey, guy, time to switch it up because that ain't going to work. It's time to go right at them and see if they can slow you down." Made the adjustment. It worked out in our favor. We didn't blow them out the way I wanted to, but you know what we did, Ant? We drove down the field. We got a couple scores, and then we held on to the ball for basically a good chunk of the second half. They didn't get opportunities to put points on the board. Great learning lesson from me.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we had someone like you there on the sideline to redirect my young brain into the right way. But that's what happens as a coach. Sometimes the things you want to do, you just can't do them. And when you can't do them, you have to find a way to adapt and adjust. Kyle Shanahan, kind of a master of that.
Yeah, he is. They're a master of adjusting on the fly. You've seen them go to the sweeps, later in this game. That wasn't the overall intention. They wanted to go up inside. They had a certain game plan of how they were going to handle it, and it wasn't there. They really wanted to use the screens and the inside run to change the way the Eagles were able to rush, and it didn't happen. He adjusted on the fly, but I disagree about the adjustments. I like the games where the game plan goes exactly how you want.
Don't get me wrong. Those ones are the nice ones because you feel all your prep work went well, but the ones where you have to adjust, they're rewarding because of the challenge.
Oh, man. I love looking up after you've ran 5 offensive plays and there's 3 touchdowns.
Those are also really good.
And you're just like, okay, everything we did, we're executing at a high level right now. And the other team is already hanging their heads because they know what's coming for them.
All the other coaches just distraught. And what was the point? Why did we even bother to show up? Why did we get off the bus today? They won warm-ups, and now the game's over, and we're 3 minutes in.
Yeah, so but you're right. Adjustments are everything. You got to be able to think on the fly and get into something else if it's not there. Because sometimes a coach is ready for what you're going to do. Sometimes a coach is prepared. These guys are, the other coaches are really good, especially in the NFL. These guys are prepared, they're ready, and they got the talent to execute almost anything that they want to execute. So it really is a cool matchup between, very, very good minds with very, very good football players. And that's why the NFL can go one way or the other either way. That's why you don't see teams normally come in there and dominate all the time. It's up and down year to year. So, it's exciting, though. I did like everything I've saw so far. I like some of the stuff that's coming out, too, about just the way that they're talking. I think this team is still intact. They're still ready to go. They're 2-0, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they can make it 3-0.
Let's do it, San Francisco. Get it done. Cutback crew, let us know what you thought about all of today's topics, all of the discussion from today down below in the comment section. Let us know about it. You excited about Jacques Patrick? Are you upset to see Dee Virgin go? Do those names that we brought in for workouts, they excite you? What are you thinking about them? Let us know down below. And while you're commenting, don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And head on over to Patreon because we have a lot of exciting things coming up this week, including all 22 film breakdowns. The first half of the Eagles game goes up today. You don't want to miss it. Hop on over to Patreon. You can join for just $7 a month. That basic tier, the catch tier, that'll get you those all 22 film breakdowns. You can see the game from a whole different angle and hear our perspective and how we're breaking it down and how we're seeing it.
Yeah, we finally got our hands on some all 22 film. It has not been easy to get, but we really do appreciate it. And it's going to be fun. It's fun to break into the game film and really get into what is going on from play to play, what the defense and offense are doing, and then you can't see it on the national telecast very well. In the all 22 film, you can see what these corners are doing too. So I was already talking to you about Lenore and Josh Norman and how they were looking from play to play. And you get a better understanding what D'Amico Ryans is trying to do from a scheme set. How he's going between different coverages and different personnel groupings. It is a lot of fun. So yes, the breaking down the film is where it's at. So if you like film breakdown, hop over to Patreon, sign up and join us for that because it's
Good time. It's a lot of fun. Madden playthrough for week 2 just went up yesterday as well, so don't want to miss out on those. If you like Madden, hop on over to that. Madden League starts here pretty soon. That's going to be a lot of fun. And a lot of ways to engage with the Cutback community, whether that's Discord, Patreon, right here on YouTube, traditional podcast platforms, Apple Pods, Google Pods, Spotify.
Exploding.
It really, truly is. We cannot thank everyone enough, whether you're just listening, whether you're joining us here on YouTube, whether it's Discord, however you choose to engage with the Cutback crew and us. We can't thank you enough. The growth is phenomenal. You all are phenomenal. You make great points. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, the likes and comments lately have been awesome. The comments especially, a lot of new names, new faces, and then the ones that have been there since day one, still putting it down. It's been enjoyable. I've been encouraged by the things that I've heard, and that's how you get involved. That's how you get involved in the conversation. We appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to all the things that are coming up this week because there's still a lot more to come.
A lot more to come. A lot of things to do. Madden simulations, game preview shows, and it's exciting times for the 49ers. It's exciting times for the Cutback crew. We'll see you on the next one, and until then, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.